Welcome back to Mama's Talk Relationships. I am Lisa Miller.
And I'm Alessandra Martinet.
Are you ready to dive into another episode about love, loss, and everything in between after divorce?
I am so ready.
What are we going to talk about today?
Today, we're going to talk about something that you and I have so much experience with, and that is dating emotionally unavailable men. But before we dive into that, I know you have some announcements to make to people.
Yes, I do. So, if you are loving our content, or if you are really relating to what have to say on here and you want to dive deeper, get more support around it, would love to have you contact me via Instagram at lisamiller.coach. I do one-on-one coaching. I also have an amazing group container of fabulous women that are all either going through divorce, considering divorce, or have been divorced. It's such an amazing, supportive place for you guys to all be if that is where you're at. Reach out. I'll give you all the details. Let's dive in because
She,
this is a good one.
yeah, but before we do that, Lisa is the most amazing coach ever. Okay, now
Oh,
we can
thank you.
start and dive in.
All right. So emotional availability, like I hear it a lot. I hear people are like, "Oh, I'm so emotionally unavailable," but like, what even is emotionally unavailability? Let's dive in.
Well, I think one of the telltale signs is avoiding deep conversations. It's very like surface.
Yeah, they don't want to give too much. They don't want to be too vulnerable. Difficulty giving or receiving emotion. So if you're like, "Oh my gosh," like you're always like, "I love you," and I'm telling this person how wonderful they are, and they're like, whatever," or they don't ever give that to you, red flag.
Yeah. And what about the reluctance for them to commit and define the relationship? They will stay in a situationship for as long as possible.
Yeah, so I'm going to speak from personal experience here, but I was dating a man once who, we'd been dating for a while and it was like, in my opinion, going to the next level. It was time. It was time for him to be my boyfriend.
Hmm.
And we'd been dating a while and in my head we weren't seeing anyone else and I brought it to his attention that this is what I was ready for. And he's like, that's not where my mind is. Like I'm enjoying exactly where we're at. And
Okay. So, how did you respond to that? I'm just curious. Like, tell me, how did you respond?
well, and this is Lisa of a long time ago. So Lisa of a long time ago was like, oh, like, all right, he'll figure it out eventually. So
Or
I
I can convince
did.
him to want it, right?
I'll give him a little bit more time because he'll come around. That's how I handled it. He never came around. It was
Yeah,
a
I was gonna ask
situationship
you,
for
how
a
long
very
did it
long
take
time.
him to commit?
He never did. So eventually I was like, okay, like this isn't really what I want. And I had to get the confidence to walk away and know my worth and know that I deserved more because that's what I wanted. It's Here's the thing, like if that's all you want, it's fine. But I truly wanted more. So I wasn't being aligned with myself. So
Yeah.
was I was breaking my own heart in this situation. I can't even be mad at him. He was being honest. He was like, this is all I want. I was the well, that stood around hoping that he was going to change his mind. He never did.
Mhm. I think for me, one of the telltale signs was avoiding any type of disagreement or conflict,
Yeah,
right?
that's a big one.
So he would deflect, he would avoid any serious discussion. And if
Mhm.
I like would call him out on something, he would just say, I'm sorry, just to like wash his hands of the situation.
Oh, he didn't wanna have any kind of conflicts. I mean
Automatically apologize and say, I
right,
messed up.
yeah. Yeah, there's another part that, if a lot of people who are emotionally unavailable, if you bring up anything major, they just shut down. Gone.
Yeah.
Like,
And they don't communicate and they will just like process for days without reaching
oh,
out and like totally cut you off and you don't know where the F anything is going.
I hate the word processing.
I know
I
you
have
do.
I have a hatred for that word. But yes, here's the thing, when someone's emotionally unavailable and like there's been a lot of emotion thrown at them, it overwhelms them. So they have a really hard time understanding and responding to other people's emotions as well. So
Mhm.
they would avoid, right? Which then causes misunderstandings, it causes hurt feelings. If someone is processing for a really long time, the other person on the other end is sitting there not understanding what's going on. That
Yeah, and they go silent for days. And
uh,
another big thing for my situation was they would prioritize everything, and I mean
mhm.
everything, like all their hobbies and everything over the relationship.
Yeah, because they don't wanna get too deep. They don't wanna it's more they're scared of a feeling, right? So they're scared they're gonna feel abandoned. They're scared they're gonna feel rejected. They're scared they're gonna feel disappointed. So instead of leaning in and meeting their partner where they're at and giving that love and receiving that love and all the
They
great things
push
that
you
come with,
away.
they push you away because they have such a fear of intimacy, of getting too close to someone. And the fear can stem from so many different things. It can stem from past relationships, past pain.
Or
It can stem from
childhood.
it could stem from childhood. So there's so many different reasons for it. But if you find yourself in an emotionally unavailable situation with someone who's emotionally unavailable, mm, you have to start to make some really big decisions. Like, is this the type of relationship you want? Does this fulfill you?
It didn't fulfill me, obviously, because I'm no longer with the person. But
Nor did it me.
but I think another thing was that they lacked a sense of empathy, and they didn't offer like a good support system if I was going through something.
Yeah, they were just kind of there.
Yeah, they were there to like go to dinner, go on vacation once in a while, but not in your life like in a real way.
They didn't fulfill you emotionally. So if you have this like lack in your heart with your partner right now, and you're kind of just feeling like, whoo, like on paper, it seemed great, right? You had the date night, you had the nice trips, he gave great gifts. Like those things, it was like check, check, check. If you needed like emotional stability, if you want any kind of emotion from that person, any of the I love you, um, when I was in a relationship with someone who was emotionally unavailable, there was no like you look beautiful. I was like,
Never,
yeah,
never,
and
ever,
like
ever.
we need that. Like I need that. I shouldn't say we. I need that. I like that.
No, I think every woman wants to hear that they're beautiful, but you could look like a freaking supermodel and they would never say anything.
Never, because it's too intimate. That there's too much fear of you're gonna reject them if you're too nice. If they feel like if they're too nice, if they give too much, you're gonna walk all over them and reject them. Now here's the good thing. The good news is if you have a relationship that is actually really strong and there's parts missing and you're able to have those hard conversations with your partner, is that something that they can look at and like are there steps they can take to help them become more available? And there are,
Uh,
the first thing is self-awareness and then there's therapy. They have to learn communication skills. But here's the thing, they have to want to and they have to know that they aren't showing up in an available way.
but I think that even if they want to and their intention is there, they really, really have to do the work. They can't just be
Yes,
like, oh, I really love you and I'm going to try to be more emotionally available to you without seeing someone professionally. It doesn't work. I'm telling you, I've been there.
I agree. No, I agree. I've been there as well. And you can have that conversation. They can be like, yes, I want this to work and I'm willing to do this. But they have to want it. It has to come from within them because if they're just doing it for you, it's gonna not work eventually. It might work for a little while. They might go to the therapy, they might try the thing, but eventually they're gonna revert backwards. So it has to be a want from within them to be like, oh, like I want to grow as a person and I want to show up available. That's something I want to do. And they have to recognize how they're not doing it so that they can recognize how to change.
But I think from my experience, and I can't speak for anyone listening, I think initially they're gonna want to, and it's really hard for them not to revert back to their old ways unless they heal the core wound.
Yeah. Yeah. They have to do the deep inner work, which,
And I just noticed that they were always, like, super independent, trying to keep everything separate, saying, "My life is fine with or without you."
oh my gosh, the words are like, I'd be fine being on my own. I mean,
Yeah,
that cut like a knife. I was like, do you know
yeah.
how badly that hurts? The other comment that I've heard is, um, I'd be better off without you. So, luckily, I mean,
So,
those are
I
fighting
think
words.
no, they are, but, like, why is it that we stay in it for so long?
I think it depends how long you're with the person, but usually people stay in relationships like that because of a trauma bond. There's some kind of a deeper issue going on there. It's not because of the person. It's not because this person's the end all be all. It's because there's this trauma bond, and trauma bonds are very hard to break. We can do a whole show on trauma bonds if they want us to. That's a whole
No,
different
absolutely,
topic.
but I think it's just, like, we think that we can make them emotionally available if we
Yeah,
try
we
hard enough.
if we show up, they'll see how much they want us and they'll change. But that's not reality.
And if we can just explain to them and tell them that they need to do A, B, and C, they're gonna do it and everything's gonna get so much better. You can't make someone do things.
No. As much as we try and as much as we wish, and we've all done that. So that's where you're at.
Guilty.
There's no shame in it. It's just, recognizing and being aware of, oh, I'm doing that right now. And you know what? Like there's no way for me to change this person. They either gonna change on their own. All you can really do is have the hard conversation of like, this is how you're making this situation be, and like this is how it makes me feel.
Mhm.
Um, and if they want to change it, they will. And if they don't, there's nothing you can do.
Now, let me ask you something. Like, did you find in your situation that did they share a lot of their childhood with you and their past relationships? Because I learned nothing from it. Nothing. They didn't share any of that.
I actually did. I know a lot about um their childhood, their past relationships. Yeah, I know a lot. That wasn't part of our relationship. Our relationship would just fell flat as far as we were best friends without the emotion. There's no he wouldn't allow himself to open up to anyone.
Yeah, but that's sad,
It was
right?
awful because I was constantly like, "Hi, I
No, and I
love
think they're
you."
yeah, I think they're just scared of being vulnerable because they've been hurt in the past.
That's it, 1,000% where it stems from. I don't wanna feel that kind of pain again. So I'll open up to you just enough so you stick around, but if you are an emotionally intelligent human being, that's usually not gonna cut it.
So, if you could give our listeners some advice on how to handle it or what to do if they find that they're in this type of situation, what would you tell them?
So here's what's interesting. If you are in an emotionally unavailable relationship, there is a part of you that's actually emotionally unavailable. So,
150%.
so my invitation to you then, if you're listening to this and you're like, oh, my partner's that, my partner's that, like I can totally relate to that. My invitation to you is to do some deep inner work on yourself and
Mhm.
heal yourself first. And maybe your partner will come along for that ride, maybe they won't. I don't know. But focus that energy on you. Focus that healing on you right now so that you become more emotionally available. So no matter if you stay with this person or not, you will start to attract more emotionally available people into your world.
Yeah, and I think, like, thinking back, I think I was very scared because of my divorce, and
Mhm.
everything that I had been through, and
Yeah,
that's why I gravitated to that because I didn't have to
me
put
too.
my heart all out there,
Same.
right?
Yep.
Right? So I think once I've
You were
started to do
protecting
the
yourself.
work. Yeah, I was protecting my heart, but I think once I started to do the work, I recognized the signs sooner,
You see?
and I'm not gonna deal with it.
Yeah, well,
I'm not gonna beg someone to
you
love me.
you've grown and evolved into an emotionally intelligent human being. So you're very
That's because
emotionally
of your coaching.
oh, thank you. But you've grown into an emotionally available person. So, I mean, there's probably still parts of you that are, and again, we all have that. We're works in progress, right? There's parts of me that are probably still emotionally unavailable and have walls up, and that's all a part of life and the journey and all the things. But you're so much more aware, and you're so much more able to receive really genuine, authentic love now.
And I think I'm able to do that because I love myself more, if that makes sense.
Of course it does. You
Yeah.
love yourself more, you know yourself better. You know what feels good, what feels off, what is just not quite what you're wanting or looking for. You see it so much clearer once you do the work on yourself. So truly, if you're listening to this and you're like, wow, like I'm in an emotionally unavailable relationship, look inside first. Get
I agree.
coaching, get therapy, get something so you can start to heal those wounds inside of you so you become more whole and you become more available.
And you know when you're not in the right relationship and you won't settle.
Yeah. And then you attract better.
Yeah. If you want better, you need to be better, right?
Starts with you.
All right, mamas, we're nearing the end of another episode of Mamas Talk Relationships. As always, we want to thank you for joining us on this journey. We'll be back next week with another insightful, informative, and hopefully entertaining episode of navigating dating and relationships after divorce.